Out there in one of the dungeons, an S rank to be precise, our MC Su Ming clears the Death Den, which is known as the most ancient dungeon and the first S rank to appear in their world. He eventually shows up looking worn out and tired after slaying the god-tier aberrant beasts. But to his surprise, he sees the warrior group staring at him like prey, demanding that he hand over the artifact he had gotten from the dungeon. Despite knowing he's the god of slaughter, they confidently tell him to get ready to die. Su learns that it was all orchestrated by Zhang Xuan, his supposed friend whom they've teamed up with since they awakened. Now Zhang plans to strip Su of his powers. Su gets mad at him and prepares for a showdown by telling Zhang and his men to come for the artifact, the Divine Ring of Defiance. They see Su power up and note that he's using the ring's power, so as they plan to jump him, Zhang tells them to wait because the plan will soon be complete. From the sky, Ren Xiaomon approaches Su, who is surprised to see her show up. She hugs him and tells him that she heard he's being plotted against, so she came to help. Su assures her that there's no need to worry. After all, he has the divine artifact, so they are no match for him. But Su asks her the question that lingers in his mind, wondering how Zhang and the others know his whereabouts, and to his surprise, Ren stabs him in the gut before informing him that she was the one who told them. Horrified and surprised, Su asks her why she had turned against him, but Ren activates a spell, and Zhang happily yells that the plan has been completed. He tells her to activate prison formation, and immediately, Ren runs to his side while chains come out from Su's wound. On that spot, Su realizes that Ren had betrayed him long ago and partnered up with Zhang just for this moment to get the artifact. Su curses them after seeing that he was only used as a tool for their gain, and immediately, they charge at him to get rid of him and get their hands on the artifact. From nowhere, skeletons appear, and a lady named Ji Yao yells at the warriors to stop. The skeletons block the attacks while Ji Yao tells Su not to give up. Zhang sees Yao and tells her that she has a death wish because no one can save them from the number of masters among the warriors who'll face them. As the opposition rains their attacks, Zhang pulls out his blade and cuts Yao. Su screams as he sees Yao fall, and just when Zhang approaches him to cut him down, Su grabs the chains while gritting his teeth in pain, and he forcefully breaks them. The others who witnessed it are stunned after seeing Su use a divine-level technique, which was only possible thanks to the artifact. Su rushes to Yao and asks her why she showed up despite the number of times he let her down. She weakly reaches for his face and tells him that if he must die, then she would die with him. Moved, Su lifts her and angrily declares to everyone watching that he vows on his title as the god of slaughter to hunt and kill every one of them if he's ever reborn. They see Su moving back to the Death's Den and worriedly rush to stop him from taking the artifact with him, but Su takes out the ring and tosses it while jumping into the dungeon with Yao. Later, he regains consciousness while wondering if he's dead, but he sees he's at the academy. Not only that, but he's at the 127th awakening ceremony. There, the 18-year-olds awaken, and their future paths are decided based on the area of their awakening. Su looks around and recalls reliving such an event. He confirms everywhere is real and realizes that he has regressed to when he was 18. He sees that the people called to have their abilities checked are exactly as it had happened, meaning no deviation from the way things were. He smiles happily after learning he's been reborn, and the memory of his friend's betrayal flashes before his eyes. Suddenly, Zhang successfully awakens as the Magic Hammer Warrior. The students hail him after seeing that his innate attribute is an 8-star level. While the others glaze him and his family background, Su stares daggers at Zhang. Suddenly, Yao shows up and tells Su she's been looking for him. He stares at her surprisingly, and she wonders if she's got something on her face. Su then tells her he's congratulating her in advance. While she wonders what he meant, Su notes he's happy to see her. The announcer calls Yao next, and when she touches the heavenly stele, they all realize that she has awakened a hidden profession just like Zhang, but this time around, it's Necromancer with star level 7. Everyone is shocked that their set has 2 hidden profession awakeners, which seems like an overkill. Lastly, Su is called to touch the heavenly stele. As he walks there, his mates dismiss the possibility of him being the 3rd professional awakener just because he is an orphan. In the country known as the Blue Star, after the first set of awakeners decades ago, people began to awaken when they reached 18 by participating in an awakening ceremony. The awakened are known as the elite, who have the powers to bend the rules of the nation and amass wealth, but they must face ferocious beasts, terrifying dungeons. And with all the cons that came with awakening, Su in his past life, who was an orphan that depended on reliefs and scholarships, awakened with amazing star-level innate attributes, the legendary profession, the god of slaughter. Currently, Su stands before the stele with the hopes to enlighten everyone once again about his ability, but when he touches the stele, it fluctuates so heavily that everyone wonders if it's the birth of a 9-star rank profession. But to everyone, including Su's surprise, the Ring of Defiance appears from the stele. He grabs it and sees that the artifact traveled through time to meet him. As soon as he touches the ring, a status window pops up and classifies him as the strongest beast slayer, his mythical profession, the sword god. The announcers and everyone around are surprised by the fluctuation phenomenon, and they wonder what profession Su is getting. Zhang, on the other hand, wonders why Su isn't moving. Meanwhile, Su looks at the pop-up window and wonders why his profession has changed from god of slaughter to sword god. He scans his fingerprint, and his golden talent is the sublimation of all things. He goes through the stats and realizes that his level will be higher than that of his past life. He opens his skill set and sees there is nothing there. But as he frantically tries to operate the status window, the others wonder what is taking him so long. The system eventually answers him and scans the Ring of Defiance, and after identifying it, a bright light bursts from the stage and goes straight into the air. Everyone there looks into the air and sees that Su is star level 10. Unfortunately, he is awarded the profession, Sword Controller. Everyone is shocked at his level, and they wonder if they have 3 students with hidden professions. The problem is that the Sword Controller isn't a high-class profession, so the 10-star level seems like a high potential for a low-grade profession. When Su returns, his classmates snicker at him and note that Su will have to cultivate twice as much as others to get points matching others. They look down on him and note that the maximum he'll ever get from that profession is to act as a support in battle. Despite all their sadistic remarks, Yao happily congratulates Su and calls him amazing for his 10-star talent. She believes he won't have any problems growing stronger in his profession. Su thanks her for encouraging him and opens up to her by saying that everyone else's reaction was what he wanted. She doesn't understand what he means, but as soon as Ren is called up to the stage to check her profession, all the boys start cheering for her. Yao admires Ren and talks about how Ren is their school beauty. Just like others, everyone anticipates her new profession, but to Yao's surprise, Su walks off and tells her he's not interested. What haunts Su is the fact that Ren had used his talent and betrayed him without hesitation. As he walks off, he notes that he'll have his revenge. On the streets, Su sees there's no change to the environment like he remembers it, and the only exception is his new profession. Su checks his status window and sees his concealment skill, which is one of the 4 skills of his previous life, available in his skill set. The status window adds his former skills to the skill catalog and shows him he's at the very first level. Su plans to hide as much as possible about himself to avoid being used like his past life. Based on the way things occurred in the past, he expects a novice dungeon challenge to show up the next day. Knowing fully well that it'll be a breeze for him, Su realizes he has to defeat a particular boss during that event, and for that he'll need good equipment. Meanwhile, Ren stays with Zhang in a hotel suite, and she calls him mischievous for having her over right after the end of the awakening ceremony. He gets pissed upon hearing about the ceremony because Su had robbed him of everyone's attention due to his star level. Ren quickly pacifies Zhang and then tells him that Su will be of use to them in the future, thanks to his high stats. She shows Zhang her phone to prove how Su used to like her, so she types a message which she plans to send to Su to get him to work with her. Su, on the other hand, arrives at the equipment store in the city, and he sees students from nearby schools checking the place out, which means that they too have completed their awakening ceremonies. Su checks around and sees a group of students talking about a Tyrant Frigid Sword, a very expensive diamond-grade weapon that can freeze monsters. As Su passes them by, he smirks as he notes that the sword is actually a fake, which is due to the occurrence in his past life. Suddenly, Jiang Lan from the Jiang conglomerate shows up and introduces herself to him as a worker who knows him. Unable to recall her face, Su tells her he doesn't know her, but that's fine because she wants him to help her sister, Jiang Yunqing, in the upcoming novice dungeon. To Lan's surprise, Su refuses, but she reminds him that he is poor and will readily cover for any equipment he buys. On hearing this, Su points to a frosty sky sword that's worth 1,000,000 advent coins, and Lan tells him he's making things difficult for her. She asks him if he thinks he's worth the amount, but he reminds her that she was the one who said she would grant him his request. Because of this, Su tells her that there are situations that financial power can't help, so Lan should ensure Yunqing puts in all her efforts for the dungeon test. Lan's guard nearly acts up, but she stops him and leaves with him. Everyone around is shocked that Su played such a hotshot. Su suddenly gets a message from Ren, who tells him she has a change of heart towards him and would like to meet him on the rooftop. He sees that things are still progressing like they did in the past, so he accepts her invitation. After that, he goes to another segment in the store where they sell sword stones. In reality, it's very rare for the sword stones to transform into graded weapons, since most of the sword stones are scraps. The secretary tries warning Su about it, but he doesn't back off and tells her he's ready to gamble his luck since the stones are cheaper. Meanwhile, Su uses one of his skills known as the Eye of Intent to check the stones out till he lands on the surest one. The eye helps him see all the fundamental information about all matters. With that, he selects the raw material and buys it dirt cheap for 50 advent coins. Yang Ding, a rich bully and his sidekick, see what Su is up to and they make fun of him for being foolish to reject the offer from Jiang's conglomerate and sticking to buying a scrap. To crash their ego, Su tests them by wagering 5,000 advent coins if he gets a silver weapon. They laugh at him and conclude he has some screws loose, so they accept the deal. Su immediately grabs his chance by using his Eye of Insight skill to draw out the weapon in the swordstone. To everyone's surprise, he pulls out a black iron crimson-edged sword, a low-grade silver weapon that drinks monsters' blood and heals its master. Su calls it a good weapon, which is perfect for his date later that night. Yunqing realizes he's been had and watches as Su says the weapon has a lifesteal effect, which means he won't need a healer. Su then demands his money, and Yunqing reluctantly pays it to him. The receptionist checks out the sword and finds it hard to believe because it's been years since someone pulled a good sword out of the rocks. Su then meets her for a scabbard and purchases one with the 5,000 advent coins he just got. His status window immediately informs him that the scabbard will reduce the sword degradation by 50%. It asks if Su would like to open the hidden materialization function, but Su declines and declares he's going to raise the grade. With that, Su takes his leave, and as he heads home, he checks his status window and wonders why he doesn't have any single profession skill attached to his sword god title. But on the professional talent tree, he has the sublimation of all things, a skill that can upgrade all loot, but it can only happen once. Su applies it to his weapon, and it gains the bloodthirst effect, making 2 abilities. 1, the Blood Drinker, an ability that heals the owner after cutting an opponent. The second one temporarily increases the owner's stats by 5 points for 30 seconds. After reading up on them, Su opens the hidden weapon materialization and notes that preparation for the next day's dungeon raid is complete. Later that night, Su goes to the rooftop where he sees Ren waiting for him. She acts like a vixen, telling him he's late, but she freaks out when she sees him hurl his sword at her. It lands a few feet away from her, and she asks him out of fear about what's wrong. Su tells her that he has shown up for revenge, but she doesn't know what he's talking about, so she tells him she came because she took the initiative to ask him out since he liked her, but now she finds it strange that he wants to kill her. Su immediately recalls how she approached him right after the awakening ceremony in the academy ended, and for the first time, he received her concern. From then on, she talked to him till he eventually asked her out and they started dating. They were the days he treasured the most due to the times they spent together, but having realized that they were fake, Su candidly tells Ren about how he's aware of her ploy with Jiang to use him. Surprised, Ren tries to cover up, but Su doesn't let her finish, and he calls her a shameless hoe. At that point, she snaps and admits that if not for his talents, he wouldn't stand a chance to talk to her. She vows Su won't get away with insulting her, but Su doesn't care, and he even threatens her social status by saying he'll ruin her pure and innocent image if he exposes her relationship with Jiang. She gets very pissed and grabs his sword to attack him, but the sword's bloodthirsty activation activates, and it cuts her face. Ren starts screaming not only from the pain, but because her perfect face is now disfigured. Su picks up his sword and says her new look suits her, and it's time for his revenge. Annoyed, Ren vows to have Jiang kill him, but Su simply walks off and tells her that Jiang can come at him anytime. Before leaving, he tells Ren that she should consider the slash done by him and that it represents how the concern he had for her has been cut. Meanwhile, Principal Wang gifts Su some items and money as a starter pack for the novice dungeon raid. The next day, around 6 a.m., Su chews on the marrow-strengthening pill he received from the principal and wonders if the old man pitied him because of his sword controller profession. Although it tastes bad, Su levels up and gains a passive talent to master all types of sword skills without restriction. As Su walks to the venue, he plans to show the other students what he's got in the novice dungeon. By the time Su gets to the venue, a lot of students clamor to team up with him, but he declines their request and tells them he is already on another team. Coincidentally, Yao hears him and feels down because she came very early that morning, hoping to team up with him. Su mutters to her not to team up with him because he'd be worried about her getting hurt since he's going after something dangerous. While they discuss, Yanzi shows up and introduces himself as a level 9 demon hunting ranger who wants Su to team up with him. Su remembers him from his previous life, but as he wonders how to turn Yan down, Yao covers for him by telling Yan that she has already teamed up with Su. She chases everyone else, and Su notes she's reliable. A few minutes before 7, the principal addresses them via a live stream as the dungeon portal opens. He explains the rules to the student, mentioning how they get points by overcoming challenges and they are to finish within a day. As he riles them up and advises them to team up, Yao looks around but can't find Su, who was with her moments ago. Immediately, as the principal kickstarts the event, the students talk about how someone has already gone beforehand. Su, on the other hand, descends into the portal, and he notes the familiar feeling since he's been there before. Back then, he moved around recklessly trying to stockpile contribution points, but this time around, he plans to face the most difficult challenge, which is to slay the ultimate hidden boss. He eventually arrives inside the dungeon and notes that his spawning point is different from that of his previous life. which is why the place, route, and monsters are different for the challengers. Su conceals his presence from an elite tree monster even though he can deal with it because he doesn't plan to waste time fighting foot monsters, and his priority is the hidden boss. He checks the map to the route to the hidden boss and then notes that he has to hurry so he has a head start in raking items. Around 7:30 a.m., Yunqing and her party spawn not too far off, and they notice the place is quiet. All of a sudden, they see a particular student being hunted down by a giant frenzied blood rat. They all split up and run, but a minute later, 3 out of the 4 of them are gnawed to death, with the highest among the team being a 6-star. Everybody still outside the portal is concerned because someone that high didn't even last long in the dungeon. The announcer then orders them to form teams as quickly as possible because the challengers inside need help. Meanwhile, Yunqing, the only survivor of her team, runs so far that she loses track of where she's at. Out of the corner of her eye, she sees an ape monster, and the creature leaps at her with killing intent. Scared to the bone, Yunqing screams for help, and behold, the monster gets slashed multiple times by Su. While everyone else in the dungeon suffers from the monster's onslaught, Yunqing wishes she had stayed hidden, but as she sees Su easily cut down the ape, she realizes he's very strong and assumes the ape is dead. Su corrects her that the ape isn't dead yet, and she should be careful because he won't save her the second time. She quickly bolts to get reinforcement for him, but that's exactly what he needs, some alone time. Su uses his Eye of Insight and learns that the ape isn't ordinary but a mutated ape king, so he concludes that it's the reason the ape had survived his slashes. The ape charges at him, and Su sees that the creature is very fast. He evades its attack and then decides to challenge it in a speed contest. To do that, Su uses his third skill from his previous life, which is the Divine Shadow Step. Su attacks the ape, and as the primate tries to counter Su's slash-butt, Su appears right behind it and baits it with some slashes. The ape turns around and leaps at Su, but Su sees he outclasses it in speed and he finds it boring, so he goes for a finisher by lopping the head. As a result, the system rewards him with a linear slash scroll for successfully defeating the mutated ape king. It's a low-tier bronze skill that Su says is perfect for the novice dungeon. Suddenly, Su is awarded first blood drawn for being the first person to kill a monster. Moments later, everyone receives the message that a sword controller has killed a monster. A lot of people from Su's academy assume he's the one, but some others dismiss it. After all, there are also sword controllers from other academies that are participating in the dungeon. As a result, everyone receives a healing potion. When Su hears his achievements with his title broadcast, he notes that he must be more careful by using the concealment skill to prevent them from knowing. As Su waltzes through the forest, he sees a pack of monster wolves and calls them the perfect specimen for his newly acquired slash skill he got from defeating the Ape King. He activates the skill known as the Iaido slash and then draws the blade from his sheath after focusing his mind. Immediately, a flying slash attack goes straight to the wolves, and the monsters barely have time to react before they're cut down one after another, their bodies collapsing as experience points flood into Su's system window. He continues the efficient slaughter without hesitation, steadily farming until his accumulated experience climbs to 8,000. At exactly 9:30 a.m., Su upgrades to level 9, and the system promptly notifies him that he has obtained the title called Legend of the Hungry Wolf. Glancing through his notifications, Su calmly reviews his success and acknowledges the efficiency of his Iaido skill, especially when paired with his sword's unsheathing ability, which releases the energy stored within the scabbard at the moment of draw. Curious, Su decides to test it further. He channels the accumulated energy and releases a sharp, crescent-shaped energy slash toward another group of hungry wolf monsters confronting him. However, to his surprise, a massive level 10 Wolf King suddenly emerges from the forest depths, and it effortlessly deflects the attack. Meanwhile, at 8:30 a.m., other rookies form parties and enter the novice dungeon to begin their trials. Thereafter, they encounter a mutated field mouse and engage it with everything they've got. The fight is messy, and there are casualties along the way, but after a hard-fought struggle, the creature finally falls. Hyped, the rookies cheer as they receive experience points and celebrate the defeat of a special monster. Riding the high of their victory, they decide they can't afford to fall behind the player who drew first blood and sent them potions earlier. However, they receive another message from the system, informing them about another player getting first blood on a leader monster. Surprisingly, the player is a level 9 fisherman who obtains the Leader of Leaders title with that achievement. Unease spreads through the group, and they wonder if the profession they once dismissed might actually be terrifyingly strong. 10 minutes earlier, Su steadily chips away at the Wolf King's HP, his movements precise and controlled. From his perspective, the beast is nothing extraordinary. With one final strike, he brings it down and calmly remarks that it's no match for a reincarnate like him. Following that, the system congratulates Su for defeating the silver-backed Wolf King and lists out his rewards. He gains 500 experience points, upgrades to level 10, and sees the proficiency of several skills increase. Loot from the fallen leader also appears in his inventory. Meanwhile, the other rookies finally overcome their own opponents, and Ding realizes just how much effort it takes to deal with a simple pack of hungry wolves. Fortunately, the dungeon title reward, which is an attack boost scroll, arrived in the nick of time to aid them during the battle. Seeing that a level 9 fisherman easily dealt with such an ordeal, Ding fumes and mutters that the dungeon must be mocking them. Not long after, Ding throws away his crappy novice machete because of its low damage. He grumbles about the money he lost, knowing he could have purchased a far better weapon. His lackey tries to praise Sue's luck, but the sore loser snaps at him to keep quiet, venting his frustration over having to bear the loss alone. He complains about his slow progress and blames the deadweights in his party. Furious, he hopes to meet Sue in the dungeon so he can vent his anger by sending Sue to the afterlife. The lackey tries to soothe his anger, and they soon return to grinding experience points. Elsewhere, Sue triggers his primary profession change task upon reaching level 10. The system informs him that the task will be randomly selected based on his current circumstances. Rather than feeling anxious, Sue feels grateful because in his previous life, he had already left the novice dungeon before he reached level 10, causing his task to scale to an E-rank dungeon he was challenging at that time. However, he still couldn't complete the task and had to grind up to level 15 before going back to complete it. This reduced the benefit of the rewards he got, but he decided to change the outcome in this new life. Soon after, the system assigns him a task, which is to defeat the Guardian of the Red Rock Cave, a powerful elite monster. Seeing the location, Sue relaxes because it's still within the novice dungeon and the task feels manageable. With a confident grin, he invests his accumulated points into agility. When the agility attribute breaks past 100, the system congratulates him again and grants him a sword god profession skill called Sword Martial Master. It is a passive, low-grade platinum skill that allows him to equip any sword-type weapon regardless of level requirements. Meanwhile, inside the meeting room of First Academy in Xuanjing City, a board member reports to Principal Wang about the compiled data from the rookie dungeon, specifically highlighting the top talents standing out. Principal Wang scans through the list before asking if any statistics are missing, since Sue's name is nowhere to be found. The board member calmly reassures him that nothing is missing and that the information reflects all the data returned from the dungeon without exception. She then draws his attention to the rookie who drew first blood in the dungeon. Based on the timing and anonymity, she suggests that the person in question is most likely Sue. Principal Wang pauses at that revelation to think about Sue's supposed underwhelming performance and questions his judgment since he gave the lad a novice gift pack, but he's still not in the top 500. Before he can think further, the doors swing open and Xuanjing City's vice mayor, An Ranling, barges into the meeting room. She confronts Principal Wang directly, demanding an explanation. Apparently, he had previously informed her of Sue's 10-star awakening, yet the rookie dungeon data her secretary provided shows no trace of him. From her perspective, the situation makes little to no sense. Principal Wang attempts to calm her down and advises her to reduce her expectations because even if Sue is a 10-star talent, people with his profession usually have slightly weak early-game combat power. However, Ranling keeps rambling and accuses Principal Wang of lying to her just to get more Heavenly Tower Council qualification tokens that year. Unrelenting, she goes on to point out Yan Zhe, a 9-star talent who's currently second on the rookie list, as the best candidate to compete with the neighboring city's genius, Li Chen Guang. She also suggests the Zhang family's legitimate son, Zhang Tang, as another potential since he has 8-star talent and a cool hidden profession. After analyzing these potentials, she decides to give Principal Wang 2 qualification tokens, even though every school should get a minimum of 3. She claims it's because the academy has been flopping for the past 2 years and then threatens to give him no slot in the coming year if they underperform this time. She casually brushes off the what-ifs he's talking about and leaves to attend to her busy schedule. Shortly after, Principal Wang looks at the tokens, disappointed because he couldn't secure an extra slot with Sue's talent but instead got one less. He then puts his hopes on Sue and looks forward to a better result. Meanwhile, outside the Red Rock Cave, Sue studies the map and confirms that he has reached the task's location. Fortunately, his journey was uneventful, with no troublesome monsters along the way. However, he never explored this cave in his previous life, leaving him uncertain about what lurks inside. Exercising caution, he steps in carefully only for a level 6 gold-digging goblin to appear without warning. Reacting instantly, Sue turns it into minced meat with swift precision before it alerts the whole cave. Unfortunately for him, the system informs him about the triggered Goblin Cave awareness. To his surprise, a horde of goblins suddenly spawns, and he realizes that the first-class change task isn't some easy-peasy one. Just then, the system tells him that all the goblins in the cave will launch fierce attacks at him. Presumably, the triggered goblin mode is a self-indulgent lifestyle that goes against every social norm. Without hesitation, Su begins mowing through the goblins, but the sheer number of enemies is overwhelming. Concern creeps in as he notices his weapon's durability declining. Suddenly, a massive goblin attempts to ambush him from behind, but Su narrowly evades, only to face coordinated arrow volleys from smaller goblins. Several arrows graze him despite his blocks, confirming that these monsters are far more intelligent than expected. The onslaught continues, steadily chipping away at his HP. Su calculates his remaining mana and realizes that, at this early stage, it won't sustain prolonged combat. Facing a swarm supported by an elite goblin, he abandons brute force. Choosing flexibility over pride, Su retreats into the shadows, preparing to lure his enemies into traps of his own making. Still within the depths of Red Rock Cave, the unfortunate goblins stumble straight into Su's ambush, and he cuts them down one after another with clean, decisive strikes. With that, Su calmly assesses the situation and concludes that as long as he controls the battlefield and maintains positional superiority, he can fully unleash the potential of his Aido/skill. Soon after, he clears out every remaining small goblin, leaving only the elite variant standing. Meanwhile, outside the cave, several rookie players linger near the entrance, hesitant to venture inside because of its difficulty. Among them are the two unlucky individuals who lost a sword bet to Su days earlier, Ding and his lackey. They argue quietly about whether Su or anyone among their peers would truly challenge a cave known for spawning monsters at level 7 and above. Just as the debate heats up, they notice someone exiting the cave, and it happens to be their nemesis, Su. Now, at level 11, Su casually aura farms as he checks the system notifications detailing his rewards, while his presence exudes confidence. However, he is interrupted by Ding, who lunges from behind, aiming for a decisive strike. Su reacts instantly, sidestepping with ease as the attack misses entirely. Fueled by resentment, Ding orders his lackeys to surround Su and prevent any escape. Unfortunately for them, Su has no intention of running. As Ding rants about settling old scores, he realizes that Su has already forgotten the incident that was a big deal to him. Enraged by Su's laid-backness, he orders his henchmen to eliminate Su on the spot. As the group charges forward, Su decides it is the perfect moment to test a newly acquired skill. With a thought, he summons his sword and activates the sword control skill, manipulating the blade through telekinesis. The sword darts through the air, grazing and forcing back his opponents with precise control. The attackers freeze in disbelief because sword control is a technique typically reserved for mid-stage sword controllers, far beyond what a rookie should wield. Unknown to them, Su obtained the skill as a drop from the elite goblin and elevated it from silver to gold tier with his talent. Su quickly realizes just how well the skill synchronizes with him and briefly considers how fast word of this ability will spread among the rookies. Thereafter, he checks the rewards from clearing the cave and discovers a hidden location map. The map outlines a path connecting the first-class change to the final stage, sparking his curiosity. As he scans the map, he is surprised to find a new quest tied to Red Rock Cave, referencing goblin commerce and their lifestyle. Elsewhere, at exactly 11:30 a.m., a flamboyant all-girls rookie team efficiently clears out a group of low-level monsters. They hype and celebrate their teamwork enthusiastically, praising their coordination. One member thanks Fenfenzi, a 7-star awakened talent, for carrying them through the encounter. While the others excitedly inspect the loot, Fenfenzi looks back to check on the other girls in the team and soon realizes that someone is missing. She looks around, trying to understand the situation, but then discovers a shocking clue. While Fenfenzi and the rest of the girls scout for goods, they suddenly notice the swift disappearance of one of their teammates, so they begin to worry. Goblins generally reside in dark and damp places like caves and underground tunnels to avoid sunlight. As a result, they're able to avoid natural predators and are also conducive to ambushes and plundering activities. Since they live in groups, each group is usually led by a chieftain or an elder, who serves as a leader in various capacities, including warrior, craftsman, hunter, and priest, as appointed by the leader. To maintain the growth of the group, goblins possess a high birth rate and rapid reproductive capabilities. After shortly learning about goblins and the fact that they sometimes try to breed with human females, Su arrives at the coordinate position of the cave. To his surprise, the cave doesn't seem to be anywhere in sight, so he wonders if he got the coordinates wrong. Scanning the area with his eye of insight, he then understands the situation. The red cave is in an underground cavern whose entrance is hidden by thick smoke. When Su enters the cavern, he gets to an area where he spots some goblins. Realizing that the entire colony is probably in the cave, he understands that killing one of them would alert the rest. He then hides himself as he observes the area for the treasure. While observing, he finds the body of a female student, who has probably been violated to death by the goblins. He then confirms what he learnt about the creatures to be true. Shortly after, he sees a student named Jiang Yunqing, who must have also fallen into the goblin's smoke trap. Rather than the other student, Yunqing is still conscious and trying to ward off the horde of goblins trying to approach her. Su then sees it as a perfect opportunity to let her stall the goblins away while he secretly steals the treasure. While he turns to leave, he suddenly hears her yell that her sister is the vice director of the Jiang'an conglomerate and that she will reward anyone who can save her. Realizing that Yunqing is the sister of the vice director, he spoke to him about it, and Su decides to intervene. While the goblins charge at Yunqing to attack, Su suddenly tosses his weapon into their midst. He then uses his sword control technique to unsheath it, creating an immensely strong light called Iaido Slash. Since the goblins are natural enemies of light, they immediately flee from the scene. Given that Su didn't kill any of the goblins, none of the other goblins in the cave get alerted. Yunqing thanks Su for saving her, but he simply replies that he just happened to be passing by. She also tries to bring up matters about the reward for saving her, but Su tells her to focus on making it out of the cave alive first. While he tries to leave, she begs him not to leave her behind, but Su sternly replies that she'd only slow him down. He then suddenly discovers that the treasure is buried under where they're standing. After digging it out, he decides to use his sublimation talent to improve the quality of the chest, transforming it from a silver tier chest into a low-grade gold tier lottery chest. Just like the name implies, a lottery chest can randomly draw high-level items, skill books, or equipment with a high probability. Opening the treasure chest, Su is given a Shadow Flow set and a Platinum-grade Soul Healer skill scroll, which are both far from what he expected. Seeing that he was only rewarded a Shadow Flow set and a Soul Healer skill scroll, Su gets disappointed as he had worked extra hard, expecting a more bountiful reward. The Shadow Flow set seems quite useful to him, but the Soul Healer skill scroll stands out weirdly as it doesn't match his profession at all. Yunqing remarks that it probably appeared because of her. She then introduces herself as a 7-star Soul Healer, taking Su completely by surprise. Su then immediately receives a notification from the system, stating that Yunqing has now joined his team. Meanwhile, in a different location in the dungeon, Yao randomly stumbles on the dead bodies of her peers. Before she can react, Li, the student responsible, sees her and makes her his next target, forcing her on edge. After a while, she gains some distance from him, so she conceals herself and tries to sneak away secretly. She then accidentally makes a loud noise, alerting Li and causing him to charge at her with a heavy attack. Thanks to her quick reaction time, she's able to slightly evade the attack and gain some distance again. Surprised at her swift moves, Li mentions that he never expected a girl like her to hold out against him for so long, remarking that the Xuanjing Academy might not really be entirely trash. Yao asks why he's killing them when, based on his school uniform, he clearly goes to a school in the neighboring city. Li then responds that his level 10 first-class change task happened to assign him to kill 50 players. According to him, since it'd be strange for him to suddenly start killing people around him, he decided to visit their weak school to do justice. He also states that their academy is to blame for being the one with the record of having the most trash students in several cities. Suddenly, he charges at her, but Yao tries to block him off with her necromancy skeletons, which he easily destroys. He then calls her weak as he chases her with a fatal attack. Just before the attack hits her, someone blocks it off, to their surprise. Yanzi then reveals himself with his teammates and promises to protect her. Meanwhile, not too far from the Red Cave, Su submits treasure fragments to the system and gets a notification about completing the primary class change task. He then gets promoted to first class as his swordsmanship power, speed, and proficiency increase in double folds. Yunqing, who uses the Soul Healer skill scroll, also unlocks some advanced skills that make Su raise an eyebrow. He then concludes that she must have an infinite amount of luck. Thinking about the great things he could accomplish with that amount of luck on his side, he reconsiders his options and agrees to complete the dungeon with her. Hearing this, Yunqing gets so excited as she begins to yap about how her sister had hired a group of thugs to help her achieve this same goal, but ended up being ineffective. Although Su naturally doesn't like the matchup, he does it solely for her skill. After becoming teammates with Yunqing, Su receives a message from Yao, so he decides to check it out. Meanwhile, back at the Battle Avenue, Li, Yan, and Yao are both surprised to see that he has not been fighting with his full power the whole time. In a matter of seconds, he wipes out Yan's entire team without breaking a sweat. He also easily blocks off Yan's powerful long-range attacks, making him seem useless. Based on the research Yan had done beforehand, he can identify Li as a genius, awakened 10-star talent with a blade maniac profession. After defeating all his men, Li approaches them slowly, ranting that he has only been able to kill 35 people, and that he's still far from his goal. While he approaches, Yan, who is a ranged professional, remarks that he can only barely stand the chance if he manages to gain some distance. But that might be troublesome at the moment. Yao also remarks that her mana has bottomed out and that she can no longer use her necromancy. They then both realize that they're cooked. Seeing that they have nowhere to run, Li charges at Yan to take care of him first, but to his surprise, he gets interrupted by Yao, who blocks him off. She instructs Yan to run as far as he can while she tries to hold him off, but Lee gets pissed by the fact. He attempts to deliver a fatal blow but gets interrupted by a strange sword. Su has come to their rescue. Yao had texted him earlier to warn him of the danger in her area, but he had decided to come instead. Seeing her, Su gets flashbacks to how she protected him in his past life as well, which led to her death. This time around, he promises to protect her. Su then uses his sword control skill to retrieve his sword, which he uses to clash with Lee. Seeing him, Lee identifies him as the level 10 sword controller he heard about, but he doesn't expect him to have the upper hand, as he's only a controller. Watching from a distance, Yan remarks about how amazing Su is. He then considers providing long-range support to elevate their chances of winning. Suddenly, he and Yao feel the impact of someone using healing magic on them. Yunqing then reveals herself from the sidelines and introduces herself as Su's teammate, putting them in shock. Su had boldly told them he was planning on going solo, so seeing him with a teammate strikes a bit of jealousy within them. While she heals them further, Yan asks her to hurry up so they can join Su in the fight. Yunqing replies, telling him not to worry, as Su is way stronger than they think. After a while of clashing with Su, Lee wonders why a sword controller possesses the movement techniques of a sword prodigy. After observing Su's sword skill, Lee commends him greatly, admitting that his strength exceeds his expectations. However, he declares that it's time to finally decide which of them is stronger. Hearing his name, Su remarks that he heard of Lee in his past life, but never got the chance to meet him personally. He then smiles as he charges back at him to see if his sword is sharper or if Lee's blade is harder. When he gets close enough, Lee attempts a flying stab with one of his blades, but Su blocks it easily. Lee then exposes that it was a trap and that Su has fallen for it. According to him, the blade energy drawn by his blade's flying stab attack is enough to lock the enemy in place for another attack. He tosses his second sword at Su, but Su easily tosses his sword as well to block the attack. He then uses his sword control technique to redirect the bearing of the sword, making it charge at full speed at Lee, who is now weaponless. Lee manages to dodge the attack but gets grazed in the process. He then picks up his sword and charges at Su to retaliate, but Su evades all his attacks easily, getting him more frustrated. Shortly after, Su controls his sword back while trying to spite Lee. Yunqing, on the other hand, completes the healing process, so Yan and Yao try to rush over to support Su. To their surprise, when they get there, they find out that he has already defeated Lee. While Su turns around to leave, Lee gets up and uses his last energy to attempt a deadly attack, which catches Su completely off guard. It's his strongest skill, which he has been saving for last. It encompasses a rainforest rapid blade attack, which unleashes a series of continuous slashes into the area. Seeing how the tides have turned, Yao tries to rush in to save him, but Yan stops her, telling her she'd only be throwing away her life in the process. Still, she struggles to set herself free, stating that she doesn't mind dying as long as she can save Su. Su then responds, telling her to listen to Yan and not get close. Cheng watches in shock because he is holding on to Su-ming after hitting him with so many blades, but he is not dead yet. He is left wondering how this is possible, and just then, Su-ming asks him if he is sure that he hit him. It suddenly dawns on Cheng that the voice he is hearing is not coming from the front. Suddenly, Su-ming's body that he is holding onto vanishes, and this is when he realizes that it was a substitute all along. Su-ming appears in the back, teasing Cheng that he finally notices this. Su-ming has a coat on his body and he makes sure to aura farm as he steps into the limelight. Su-ming says he is pretty sure that Cheng wasn't expecting a normal sword controller like him to have such a skill. It turns out that Su-ming is currently donning the shadow sect that he obtained after opening the treasure chest. One of the effects is called the Surge of Darkness, and this is a skill that after equipping it, all sword technique skills deal additional dark attribute damage. This damage can bypass physical defense. The set skills include the Shadow Clone, which spawns a fake shadow as a defense. If an attack is carried out when the Shadow Clone is active, it will deal an additional follow-up slash. The power of the slash is equivalent to 50% of his normal attack damage. As Su-ming closes in on Cheng, he lets him know that he is able to do this thanks to his equipment set skill. Cheng doesn't want to believe this because he doesn't think there are collectible sets in the Novice dungeon. In fact, there is only one way to do that, and this is the player completing the Profession Change quest. Cheng panics when he realizes that this is the case, and he is also pissed that Su-ming did it faster than him. With no strength left to fight, Su-ming tells Cheng that all that is left is for him to slaughter him. Su-ming slashes him on the chest, but just as he is about to finish him off, a bright light appears above, covering Cheng. The light transports Cheng from the location, and Yanze recognizes this as the life-saving ornament. Jiao is surprised to hear this, and Yanze explains that it is a tool that allows a player to exit the dungeon in emergency mode. Yanze says one of the ornaments costs hundreds of thousands, which means it is not an item that can be farmed in a dungeon. Suming then tells his teammates that the neighboring city must have spent a fortune to protect their 10-star genius. He admits that they actually went all out just to save him. By 2 p.m. that day, the lady official in the meeting makes an exclamation remark that catches Wang's attention. Wang is busy eating a cup of noodles, but he doesn't let this stop him as he asks the lady if she has managed to retrieve the real-time level rankings of the players in the dungeon. She says this is not the case, but the data feedback shows that multiple players are actually in the 9 o'clock direction between 12 and 12:30 p.m. Wang asks her what is strange about this, since it is normal for players to run into difficult monsters that would kill them. The lady then mentions that data analysis shows that they were killed by player data, not from the city's region. The moment Wang hears this, he realizes that the neighboring city is already playing tricks, and he tells her to save all the data records pretty well. Since their academy is always at the bottom of the barrel, they have become a target for bullying by other regions. Wang then asks her about the progress of the students clearing the dungeon, and she replies that it is good at that moment. She mentions that most of the teleportation zones have already been taken by the students, and the limited dungeon footage that they can retrieve in real time shows that some capable players have already organized large forces to start tackling the dungeon boss stages. Apparently, Zhang is the one currently taking the lead, and just as expected, he is full of potential. Wang hopes that Zhang will be able to kill the boss so that glory can return to the academy. The real-time ranking data analysis soon shows up, and it reveals that Zhang is currently on level 9. He is tied with Yanzi, who is also on level 9. The second and third places are Yunqing and Yao, who are following closely. Wang is impressed by all of these, but he still asks for Suming, and he is informed that Suming isn't in the data for the top of the leaderboard. However, Wang tells the dude to look through it closely and tell him where Suming is. After a closer look, they are both left speechless to find out that Suming is still stuck on level 2. From the data they received, after Suming took the first blood, his level didn't rise again. Unknown to them, Suming is currently on level 14. The moment he reaches level 14, the system unlocks a hidden set of appearances for him. At the same time, his other teammates have seen an insane increase in their levels in just 2 hours of killing monsters. Yunqing tells her teammates that they should be thankful to Suming because it is his influence that has helped them to level up fast. Jiao talks about how great their squad is because they have a healer and a player with long-range abilities. Jiao can also summon skeletons to provide cover, and the most important person is Suming, who is extremely strong. Suming teases them, saying it is all their strength and he is only following their lead. Jiao tells him to stop being sarcastic because if not for him, Cheng would have killed them. Jiao talks about how incredible Suming is, and she mentions how confident she is that they can go ahead to take down the dungeon boss if they challenge him as it is. Suming tells Jiao that she is actually right, but his target is not the ordinary boss, but the more powerful hidden boss. Fortunately, Suming just found a water ripple key, which he obtained after killing the elite spike-toothed beast. Suming mentions that to find the dungeon's hidden boss, they have to solve 3 riddles guided by the dungeon data and collect the corresponding 3 items. For the first riddle, they are told that when the silver moon hangs by the shore, the green waves part, and the red armor sleeps in the core of the cold abyss. Suming wastes no time answering this, telling the system to trigger the location, Silver Moon in the Sky. He mentions that there is no dungeon weather in the Novice dungeon, and to find the Silver Moon, there is only one place in the dungeon where plants can grow into the shape of a moon. As they walk past the lake in front of them, they find exactly where they are going, which is the location of the hidden boss. The second riddle goes this way, saying lake water turns to mist. Using iris petals as a guide, beneath the sunken sand, the armor still keeps the old covenant. Suming reveals that from the moment he entered the dungeon, he immediately gathered the trigger items, iris flower from the monster area, to combine with the water ripple key farmed through the hint of riddle 3. As for the third riddle, it goes on to say, hold the star-patterned key to reflect on the lake bottom. 9 ripples circle the bedrock. The knight pillows his head, his sword, waiting for light to break the turbid waves. Suming combines the trigger items, and the moment it starts to glow, Suming places it above the lake. His teammates are shocked to see this, and Jiao asks him how he was able to solve the riddles. Before they know it, a whirlpool emerges in the middle of the lake, and a knight emerges holding his sword out. The scary knight fully emerges on horseback while answering the riddles that were solved. The team is hit with red warnings, telling them that the hidden boss has appeared, and he is known as the Guardian of the Lake, the Lost Knight. To engage the hidden boss, Yanze and Jiao immediately join Suming's party, with Suming being the captain. Suming urges the team to prepare for battle because the hidden boss challenge has already started. 15 minutes after this, Suming and his team are seen hiding out in the woods. It turns out that the knight wasn't what they were expecting. They ask Suming if he thinks it is okay for them to hide out like chickens like this. Suming then points their attention to the fact that the guy rides his horse so fast, and there is no way they can kill him that way. It turns out that the knight's mount speed is 500 points, which is insane. It is so overwhelming that even if the four add up all of their stats, it doesn't reach half the knight's stats. While the team is hiding out, the knight is taking down students he can get his hands on. Before they know it, the hidden boss has taken out 3 waves of students already, and since they are the ones who summoned the boss, they believe that it is their duty to set things right. Moments later, Jiao tells Suming that by following his instructions, they have used up all the mana potions of everyone in the squad and have set up the delayed trap. Suming thanks Jiao for her hard work, and he tells Yanze and Yunqing to follow the instructions they have planned ahead. It turns out that in Suming's previous life, he never challenged the hidden boss, and it is common sense that most awakened wouldn't risk choosing to summon a hidden boss in the novice dungeon shortly after awakening in life. In addition, the novice dungeon can only be challenged once in a lifetime, which is why not many people are aware of the presence of the hidden boss. Apparently, the answer to the puzzles was vaguely in record, and when Suming found it, he memorized it. However, what he didn't expect was that the hidden boss would be equipped with a mount possessing a speed of 500 points. To take down the annoying boss, they have one option, and that is to knock him off his horse. Yanzi kicks the plan into motion, and by standing on a cliff, he fires multiple hunting shots at the hidden boss. The knight blocks some of the shots, and those that hit don't even do anything to the knight because of his heavy armor. With Yanze firing annoying shots at the knight locks onto him as the aggro target. The moment he realizes that he has gotten the boss's attention, he screams out to inform Yunqing, and Yunqing also sets off her own course of action. She sets off a fire that starts emitting a cloud of smoke in the knight's path. Basically, the plan is to have Yanze draw the boss's attention with his long-range skills, and after this, Yunqing will create a smoke in the area the boss must pass through to block the boss's vision. This was a trick Suming learned from the goblins when he went to the Red Cave. Everything goes according to plan, and as the hidden boss finds himself in the cloud of smoke, he suddenly notices skeletons scattered around to delay his advance. The knight raises his sword to try to destroy the skeletons, but Jiao activates her delaying trap to trap the knight. It turns out that this was the trap Jiao had set up in advance. With the boss slowing down, Suming makes his move. He lunges toward the boss from behind, and he admits that without his teammates' help, there is no way he would have been able to solo the knight. Before the hidden boss knows what is going on, Suming has descended upon him. Suming grabs the knight and drags him off his horse. The team screams out in celebration because their plan to knock the boss off his horse was successful. However, Jiao urges her friends not to let their guard down yet because this is just the first phase. 10 minutes earlier, Jiao had told Suming that even if they are able to knock the boss off the horse, it still doesn't mean they have what it takes to deal with him because they would have been exhausted already. Suming replied that they would have done enough, telling her that when that time comes, they should just leave the boss to him. With confidence, Suming had told them that he would solo the boss. Now, in the moment, Suming and the boss engage in a fierce battle. Suming takes on the boss without fear as their swords clash against each other. While the two are engaging in this intense battle, his teammates are watching in awe from behind. However, Yanzi cannot sit around, and he plans to help Suming, but Jiao tells him to chill out. Jiao reminds them that Suming already said they should leave the fight to him, so they have to trust Suming's words because they have their own mission. As the battle intensifies, Suming activates the Shadow Step, giving him the advantage to deliver fast-paced attacks on the knight's body. With Suming's incredible speed, the knight appears really slow. Suming scolds the knight, saying he is actually really slow without his horse. His speed has significantly dropped from 500 to an insane 55. Suming concludes that a hidden boss is nothing special, and he continues to exert more power on the knight, aiming to kill him as fast as he can. However, everything Suming has thrown at the boss hasn't even taken a quarter of his armor. To make it worse, Suming's weapon durability has dropped to 7%. It dawns on him that his sword's durability isn't enough, and thanks to the knight's armor, he is slowly becoming a pain to deal with. He decides to pull back a bit, and while he is hiding out in the tree, Suming notices that the knight is looking around. He figures out that he is looking for his horse, and he commends him, saying he is actually smart because he knows how fast he is whenever he is on the horse. However, Suming tells him to forget about his horse because his horse has been led away by his team. It turns out that Jiao and the others have taken the horse away from the location, but they are having a hard time with the stubborn horse. Nonetheless, Jiao tells her teammates that they have to do everything in their power to make sure that the horse doesn't return to the knight. She mentions that the mission was entrusted to them by Suming, and this was after he told them to leave the boss to him. He had told them that their mission is crucial, and this is for them to restrain the boss's horse no matter what it takes to make sure he doesn't mount it again. While Suming is hiding out in the tree, he returns the sword to the sheath, and when he returns to the fight, he draws, taking full advantage of the skill attached to this. However, the knight prevents Suming from coming closer by unleashing the roaring water blade skill that almost catches Suming in its range. Suming manages to jump backwards as the knight's sword shatters the ground, and Suming is surprised that the knight knows a few skills. The knight comes after him, but Suming pulls back, while covering his retreat with the sword control. This forces him to engage the knight aggressively, ultimately dropping his weapon durability to 3%. Suming realizes that he has no luxury of wasting any more weapon durability. He engages his eyesight and realizes that the knight's armor is about to be breached, so he just has to hold out. The knight remains on the offensive, while Suming finds himself trying to cope with the knight's insane agility. Just then, the knight catches up to Suming and he puts everything into impaling him, but in the end, it turns out that he only killed a clone. Suming appears in the distance, talking about how the shadow skill is effective on all enemies, be it monsters or humans. Suming activates the full set while talking about how much he likes the equipment set. Suming then hurls his sword at the knight using sword control, and this time around, he is able to finally break the knight's annoying armor. Suming leaps toward the knight with joy, but at the same time, his weapon's durability runs out. Surprisingly, Suming has another plan in mind. He activates the shadow sword that comes with the equipment set. With the shadow sword, he delivers a vertical cut to the knight's open body. At 3:30 p.m., Wang heads to the school's administration communication room to join his counterparts from the other academies. Wang expresses his surprise that the other principals have already been chatting in the communication room for a while. The principals claim that they have not been there for long, but it appears that Wang just came very late. They tease Wang, asking him if no student in his academy has been able to challenge the dungeon boss yet. Apparently, the dungeon clear result will start coming in one after another after 3 p.m., but since Wang's school is always at the bottom of the barrel, they mock him, saying there is no need for him to rush to the meeting to make a report. Wang then mentions that he didn't come late because of the dungeon, but because he received a real-time data report from inside the dungeon. Wang says that there are players from outside his school who have secretly entered his school's novice dungeon, but he hasn't figured out the intruder's identity just yet. Nonetheless, he is pretty sure that the intruder is from one of the 3 academies of the neighboring cities. Wang asks one of the principals, Ji, if he is the one because the intruder is said to be using blade skills. Wang is asking this because he heard that he has a genius at his school who is an expert in blade weapons. Ji replies with anger, telling Wang to stop saying trash without evidence, revealing that Cheng is currently challenging the final boss of their school's novice dungeon. He boasts about Cheng's talent, saying he is pretty sure he is going to clear the dungeon in half an hour. The Dongling Academy principal also uses the opportunity to boast, talking about how his academy has 3 students who are currently challenging the boss. The Nengang Academy also joins the fray, saying its students are on the verge of clearing the dungeon. When Wang hears this, he realizes that the other academies are having an easy time with the boss, so it would be better for them to race against the clock. He knows that the implication of failing this year is just 2 slots to the Sky Tower Assembly, which will be the fewest in history. Basically, from reports, the student close to clearing the dungeon is Zhang, and Wang is putting all of his hope on him. In the dungeon, Zhang is actually putting his best into challenging the final boss, Simba, which is a level 15 beast. Zhang and his team look totally battered, but they keep going at the beast. Zhang's team suffers massive casualties, and some of them start running away because they have realized that they stand no chance against the boss. While others are running away, Zhang decides to fight the boss alone because he plans to take the dungeon's clearing reward no matter what. It turns out that Zhang is motivated by the message he got from Xiaoman telling him that Suming hurt her. Xiaoman had urged her boyfriend to get revenge for her, and Zhang is ready to put everything on the line to get the reward so he could enact vengeance on Suming. Just as he is preparing to go full rampage mode, the monster in front of him vanishes. Zhang is left in shock as he doesn't understand what just happened. The students' status windows pop up and it turns out to be a dungeon notification. The students are informed that a squad has defeated the hidden boss. The students are congratulated and are told to prepare for their return home in triumph. When Jiyao and the other 2 see the notification, they immediately figure out that Suming was the one who successfully soloed the hidden boss. Wang is in the meeting with the others when everything turns bright, revealing that there's been a winner. Wang doesn't even see his academy winning this, so he stays quiet while the other principals are busy arguing over who might have cleared the dungeon. Everything becomes shocking when they realize that the academy that cleared the dungeon is the Xuanjing Academy. When some learn of the hidden boss, they don't want to believe that a hidden boss actually exists in the dungeon. Students from the Xuanjing Academy boastfully talk about how their students came together to kill the hidden boss. Most believe that it was Zhang and his team who took down the boss, but little do they know that their savior is Suming, who managed to reach level 16 in the end of it all. Suming's teammates rejoice, commending him for carrying them because they jumped 2 levels thanks to him. Suming calls his teammates together, telling them that they should distribute the rewards for killing the hidden boss before the exit portal opens. Yanze tells Suming that he is content with the level increase and isn't really interested in the rewards. Yunqing joins Yanze, saying she is good with the increase in level 2. Yanze mentions how Suming has helped them so far, from saving them from Cheng's blade to unlocking the secret of the hidden boss, and finally taking down the boss. Yanze says he feels guilty that he didn't really do anything, so taking rewards sounds somehow wrong to him. He's in the middle of his yap when Suming allocates an incredible bow to him. This is a powerful bow that he will be able to use when he reaches level 20. Yunqing also receives a heart soul necklace, which increases the soul power storage limit as well as absorption efficiency. As for Jiao, she is given a scroll, Blood Armor Undead Summoning. Apparently, after learning this skill, she will be able to summon the hidden boss Blood Armored Undead Knight. In addition, the summoned creature's attribute levels depend on the player's attribute levels. After sharing the loot, Suming lets them know that the loot dropped is linked to their respective profession rewards. He mentions that this simply means he is not the only one who acknowledges them as part of the team that successfully killed the hidden boss. Suming proudly tells them that the dungeon acknowledges them because if not for their help, the challenge would never have been completed. Just then, the dungeon congratulates the students for clearing the dungeon, revealing that the whole exercise lasted for about 8 hours. Suming lets his teammates know that time is up and it is time for them to leave. Suddenly, a portal opens behind them, and Suming explains that every time a dungeon is cleared, it enters the settlement phase. The contribution rewards for every player challenging the dungeon will then be settled into the real world after they leave the dungeon. As Suming approaches the exit, he commends his teammates for doing a good job. Moments later, the students start exiting the dungeon, and those who have lost loved ones start crying their eyes out. There is a lot of wailing among the students because the casualty rate is pretty high. Suming takes a look at the situation and realizes that everything has been revolving around the awakened from the onset. While some are crying that they lost people, there are some who are happy that they obtained rewards, which shows that it is all about survival of the fittest. Just then, the principal shows up on the screen, congratulating the survivors, telling them that this is their first challenge after awakening as they step into the world of the awakened. He says this is the final lesson the academy can give them as graduates. Wang continues his speech, saying being awakened doesn't only represent power, money, and honor. He says it also represents responsibility, love, and peace. He tells those who have lost close ones to remember the sadness and pain, while those who have obtained victory to remember the responsibility and pursuit. While the principal is giving his speech, Jiao asks Suming how he feels about everything because a lot of students have just lost their lives. Suming then tells her something shocking, revealing that she doesn't have to worry because the dead students will be resurrected. He hasn't finished saying this when the principal tells them that to complete the lesson of the novice dungeon, all of the classmates, relatives, and lovers that they lost will be resurrected in 30 minutes. The students are shocked to hear this, and Jiao is especially stunned because she can't understand how Suming knows this fact. After everything settles down, the dungeon enters the reward settlement phase to distribute rewards. The rewards are distributed according to their contribution and the number of monsters that they killed when they were in the dungeon. Everything was going fine until it got to Suming's turn. A long list of achievements is displayed on the screen, showcasing the number of monsters that he defeated. The dungeon regards his achievement as the perfect challenge, while revealing that his final evaluation is S rank. To everyone's surprise, Suming alone contributed 91% of everything that went down in the dungeon. Later on, Suming shows up at the data room where the principal is waiting. As he opens the door, the principal addresses him as the #1 student, but Suming isn't even concentrating on all that. Bro had slept off, which is why he came late to the summons. In the final rankings, Suming came first, while Yanzi and Zhang are tied for second position. Third place was Yunqing, while Jiao took fourth position. Suming figures out that he has already graduated, so there is no need to keep a low profile anymore. In addition, he doesn't see any reason to modify his information because in the future, the gap between him and his classmates will be thousands of miles apart. While Suming is busy thinking about his future, the principal is holding onto his leg like his savior. Suming asks the old man how long he plans to continue holding him, but all Wang can do is thank him. Wang says he doesn't know how Suming did it, but he is glad that he was able to pull the school from the bottom of the barrel after so many years. Wang starts talking about how the other principals were left speechless after the rankings came out. Wang reveals that their academy is the first among the nearby 4 cities, and Suming is the first in all academy novice dungeons. Suming asks Wang about Cheng's ranking, and he reveals that he took 3rd place in the ranking of all academies. Wang says that from what he heard, he didn't perform optimally because he was injured. Wang then asks Suming how he was able to kill the hidden boss because even if he has a 10-star talent, he is just a sword controller, which is a weak profession in the early stages. Wang mentions that from what he knows, Suming is not from a noble family, nor does he have enough money to buy god-tier equipment, but he was able to kill a hidden boss that is above his level. Wang admits that in all of his years as a principal, he has never seen a student as strong as Suming. Wang also knows for sure that Suming didn't pull off this incredible feat because of the materials he sent to him, because these are items that can only increase his combat power a bit. Before he can continue yapping, Suming cuts in, saying he was able to win thanks to his good luck. Wang is confused when he hears this, and Suming tries to make it more convincing, saying he had luck and obtained many useful skills and items. Wang is surprised to hear this, and he asks if the novice dungeon has so many powerful items and treasures. Suming says yes, revealing that in addition to all of these, he was lucky to have met a group of good teammates. Suming makes sure to beat around the bush as much as he can because he obviously can't tell Wang that he was reborn. Suming says he wouldn't have been able to defeat the boss without his teammates' help. After hearing this, Wang concludes that Suming is not just an outstanding student but also a powerful leader. Wang then reveals that when the other students showed up earlier to receive their rewards, Jiao wouldn't stop praising him, saying it was a blessing to have teamed up with Suming. Suming reveals that Jiao actually sent him a message that morning, suggesting that they come together, but he was the one who refused because deep down he knew that Jiao would find a way to embarrass him, since she is used to praising others. Suming is about to leave when the principal stops him, handing him his token of the Sky Tower Assembly. Wang says thanks to Suming's performance, the vice mayor who had originally looked down on them had no choice but to allocate more tokens from other academies to their academy. In the end, the academy was able to secure 5 token quotas that year, and they were given to Suming, Jiao, Yanzhe, Yunqing, and Zhang. Wang then tells Suming that he would like to explain the importance of the Sky Tower Assembly to him, but Suming says there is no need for this because he is very clear on it. Basically, the Sky Tower Assembly is a place that many newly awakened students dream of. After awakened students finish challenging the novice dungeon, which is equivalent to graduating from the academy, they step into the world of the awakened. Most students can only accept training from junior dungeons in the future, challenging upwards slowly, step by step, but steadily and surely. The risk is that the improvement and the speed are slower. However, the Sky Tower Assembly qualification is different because those holding the Sky Tower Assembly token have an additional, faster training channel. Although the challenges inside the tower vary, the improvement rewards obtained are abundant and fast. In Suming's previous life, he didn't get the qualification for the Sky Tower early on, which prevented him from widening the gap with most players early on. Basically, the resources obtained were not enough after being divided equally, but Suming plans to make everything different in this current life. Wang then offers his sincere congratulations to Suming, telling him that he has graduated from the academy, but he lets him know that future challenges won't be like the novice dungeon, where he can start over if he fails. He tells him that the challenges he will face in the future will give him just one chance, and this will deal with his life. Wang stretches his hand towards Suming, telling him that he hopes he can achieve great things in the future by contributing to the world. Suming smiles, and he takes the principal's hand, assuring him that he understands. Later on in the city's wealthy district, Yunqing is seen celebrating with her family over her success. Her father hugs her tightly, talking about how happy he is that she returned safely and even took 3rd place in the academy. He believes that the helpers Lan hired came through, but Lan quickly corrects the misunderstanding. Lan reveals that Yunqing was helped by a student named Suming. Yunqing confirms this, saying the helpers her sister hired all failed, and she almost failed too, but Suming showed up and saved her. She says Suming not only saved her, but even gave her good skill books and equipment. Yunqing lets her father know that Suming is incredibly powerful, and Lan mentions that she initially wanted to hire Suming, but they ran into a bit of a misunderstanding. Lan says she never expected that fate would bring them together in the end, and she admits that they have to find a way to properly thank Suming. Their father is surprised that the two agree on the same thing, and because of this, he concludes that it would be proper for them to find something to thank him. Their father then tells Lan to get Suming's contact information. He adds that he has hired the best chef to cook for them that night to celebrate Yunqing's success. Suddenly, the man gets an important call, and he initially wants to hang up until he hears the nature of the call. The man walks to a private place to talk, and this is when he learns that in the past 2 days, someone has sent assassins to murder their people. The man asks the official calling him if he knows who is behind the whole thing, and the man reveals that it is the Zhang family. 2 days later, Jiao contacts Suming, telling him that it is time for them to head to the Sky Tower, and she tells him that he has to be with them. Suming agrees to this, but suggests that they go ahead, promising to come and join them. When Suming is finally ready to leave, he remembers that Wang told him that all he needed to go to the tower was the token that was given to him. He is to summon the teleportation portal to his destination, and the teleportation portal can only be entered by those who have obtained the qualification for the Sky Tower Assembly. Suming follows the procedure as said, and the teleportation portal recognizes him as one of the qualified awakened. With a smile on his face, he steps into the portal, and by the time he reemerges, it is right at the 100-layer tower. Apparently, in his previous life, he was only able to come to the tower by chance. He looks around and realizes that the other challengers have been teleported to the scene, but Suming is just glad that he finally has the chance to challenge the place again. He makes his way to the entrance and he uses the token as an identification to unlock the door. The moment he steps into the hall, he sees information on the screen, telling him and the other challengers to wait for the ceremony to start in the first floor hall. Suming is left speechless because the hall is actually bigger than it was in his previous life. Suming is admiring the view when his teammates show up. Suming teases Jiao, saying she came early, but Jiao yells at him, saying he is the one who came really late because they have been there for a long time. It turns out that they have been waiting for him to show up like forever. In addition, the trio has become somewhat friends after what they went through together. Jiao adds that it would also be better for them to look out for each other because they don't know what to expect. Suddenly, Zhang shows up from behind, throwing a punch at Suming. However, Suming gets out of the way before he is hit. Zhang's punch hits the ground, and this catches everyone's attention to the fact that someone is already causing commotion in the prestigious hall. Jiao demands to know why Zhang is acting all weird, and Zhang tells Suming that he is there to avenge what he did to his girlfriend. Zhang starts to manifest his weapon to show just how serious he is. Zhang threatens to finish Suming right there and then. Suming then tells the dude that it is not the day for them to resolve their issues yet. Just then, the system in the hall detects conflict, and since fighting is not allowed in the hall, the prevention mechanism kicks into place, delivering a stunning voltage into Zhang's body. Zhang crashes to the ground, but before he passes out, he tells Suming not to think he has escaped just yet. Suming knows that it might not appear that anyone is welcoming them, but it is evident that they are being watched. Surprisingly, Cheng is also in the distance, observing Suming and his group. Suming then tells his teammates to follow him to the seats. Jiao asks him why they are heading to the seats when the ceremony has not even started yet. Apparently, they are supposed to read the guide for challenging the Sky Tower Assembly, but Suming mentions that there is no need to queue with the lots, since the secret lies in the seats. Jiao is surprised at how Suming knows this again, and she asks him if it is not his first time coming to the hall. Suming ignores her question and tells her to watch closely after sitting quietly on the seat for a period of time, because the Sky Tower selection system will appear right in front of them. Just as he said, the window appears in front of Suming, welcoming him to the Sky Tower Assembly Initiation Challenge. The moment Jiao's window appears too, the other two quickly take their seats. Suming reveals that completing the 100-layer tower floor challenges is what is going to determine their ranking for entering the assembly later. Jiao is lost when she hears this, and Suming explains to her that it is basically a tower climbing competition. The higher the floor that is challenged, the higher the final grade obtained. However, if they all reach the same floor, the duration it takes them to get to the floor will be used to judge the whole thing. Jiao is surprised to hear that the time taken to climb is also a consideration in the whole thing. It immediately dawns on her that they should already be challenging the towers while the others are still lost on what to do. Suming confirms this, saying the ceremonies are just the Sky Tower Assembly's way of testing the challengers' observation and adaptability skills. Suming mentions that waiting for the ceremony to end before looking at the guide basically means that they are a step behind. What the assembly wants to see is the challenger's ability to observe the environment, find methods, and seize the initiative. Suming then asks the trio if they are willing to team up with him to climb the tower just like they did in the Novice dungeon. Yunqing quickly agrees to this, saying she feels safe following Suming. However, Yanze mentions that he would not be teaming up with Suming. They ask him why he is making this decision, and he reveals that in the Novice dungeon, it was all thanks to Suming that they were able to rise to a high level. Basically, they relied too much on Suming's strength, but this time around, he says he doesn't want to drag Suming down. In addition, he wants to rely on his own strength to train and become stronger. Jiao then agrees with him, saying they need a true trial. Jiao then suggests that the three of them team up separately from Suming, just to make sure that they have a better win rate. Yanze agrees, and Yunqing has no choice but to join them too. Once it is settled, Suming ends up going in solo, while the other three enter as a team. At the same time, Cheng is still locked onto them, and he is also preparing to start the challenge because he is not done with Suming just yet. Suming is the first to head out, and he wishes his teammates good luck on their paths. The moment he arrives at the first floor, Suming is registered as Challenger 001 since he is the first to enter the 100-layer tower. Suming is confident that he knows what monster he is going to face, but suddenly, a freaking chicken emerges in the distance, shocking him. Suming is left wondering why the challenge is different from his previous life. Suming easily grabs the chicken, wondering what it is that he is supposed to do with the chicken. In his previous life, when he challenged the tower, the first monster he met was a level 5 monster, a purple-furred fiend tiger. Since the challenge is totally different this time around, he wonders if the tower is mocking him for being a noob, which is why they sent a chicken his way. Suddenly he notices that the chicken has question marks on its level section, which is quite unusual. Just when he's about to go for a quick kill, the chicken breaks free and flies off into the distance. The chicken lands on the ground, and the aura on the chicken immediately changes. Its eyes turn red, and its expression goes from a harmless chicken to Agent 47's expression. The chicken dashes towards Suming at a blinding speed, and this is when he realizes that the challenge is not as simple as he thought. Back in the hall, the challengers are finally informed that the ceremony has ended, and what is next is the challenge explanation. Suddenly, the challengers notice that there is already a leaderboard. The current first position goes to Challenger 002, and the challengers are left wondering how there are already people challenging the towers when they were still participating in the ceremony. It turns out that Challenger 002 is Chung, and he has just cleared the second floor too. Meanwhile, Suming is still struggling with the chicken, which he thought would be a simple knock-and-go monster. Suming realizes that the chicken is hard to deal with because of its incredible speed and explosive power. Even when he increases his own speed, the chicken still finds a way to avoid him. Suming tries to keep up, but all he sees are lasers hitting him in all directions. Suming is totally frustrated by this, and he knows that his current skills can't even do anything against the annoying chicken. Suming figures out that he needs a quick solution, because if he continues this way, the whole thing is going to drag on much longer than he wants. He is basically going to lose the time advantage he had by entering the challenge first if he can't find a way to get rid of the situation fast. Suming then decides that he is going to try out his new skill, which he obtained after killing the Novice Dungeon's hidden boss. Suming dashes toward the chicken, swinging hard at it, but it leaps into the air to dodge his attack. The moment the chicken lands back on the ground, Suming smiles because he has the chicken exactly where he wants it. It turns out that he has already set up a skill known as Sword Tomb beforehand. The Sword Tomb technique summons a giant sword to burst out of the ground at the designated target, causing massive damage. With the Sword Tomb hitting the chicken exactly when he wanted it, Suming is left wondering if his plan worked. However, by the time the dust clears off, the chicken remains active, and Suming groans in frustration because at this point, he doesn't think there is an end to his suffering. Suming complains about how an ordinary chicken is not something someone would meet on the first floor, and the moment he realizes this, everything becomes clear to him. The chicken comes dashing in again, but this time, Suming has another plan. He immediately resorts to the chicken immobilization technique, which cripples the chicken in fear. Suming smiles because he was right after all. The monster was just an ordinary chicken, and without wasting time, he cut down the chicken. Basically, the chicken immobilization technique is a stress-induced death defense mechanism. With the chicken out of the picture, Suming is congratulated on clearing the first floor. Suming realizes that the first floor was there to test his intelligence, not strength. He admits that the 100-layer tower for that year is pretty interesting. As he proceeds to the second floor, he realizes that the current number 1 is Chung, and it appears that the other challengers are already rushing into the tower, so his time advantage is already gone. However, this only gets Suming fired up because he now wants to capitalize on his speed. He is determined to win, and nothing is going to stop him from doing just that. At the same time, the challengers outside have finally learned how to challenge the tower, and they are pissed that the ceremony wasted their time. As they rush to get a seat, they realize that Chung has already cleared 6 floors, making him the number 1 on the leaderboard. Surprisingly, Jiao and her team have also cleared 4 floors, and they are sitting in 3rd position. Tied with them is the Challenger 001, who is displayed on the screen as the God of Slaughter, leaving them confused about who he might be. It turns out that after clearing the first floor, Suming was offered a reward, which is a chance to input a custom title. Suming was surprised by this because in his past life, after he defeated the tiger, the reward he was given was a small wooden chest, and sitting inside it was a useless healing potion. Suming figures out that a lot has changed this time around, and he wonders if it is because of his rebirth. Nonetheless, he is not about to just ignore the gift, and he decides to use his profession from his previous life as the title, which is why he chose the God of Slaughter. Surprisingly, the title replaces his name from Suming to the God of Slaughter. The moment Suming sees this, he smiles because it is exactly what he wanted. Without holding back, he starts cutting down monsters, and in just a minute, those who are watching see Suming clear a floor in just a minute. Before they know it, he has reached the 4th floor, and they are left speechless at how good he is. Even though Suming is quite amazing, they don't think he will be able to catch up to Chung because he is also not showing any sign of slowing down whatsoever. When Suming is still on the 4th floor, Chung has made his way to the 8th floor. When Suming realizes that Chung has reached the 8th floor, he decides to lock in because he is basically behind, thanks to the time he wasted on the 1st floor. Getting to the 5th floor, he one-shots the monster residing there, and moments later, Jiao's team clears the 6th floor. Jiao is happy that they were able to clear another floor without any issue, and this is thanks to their incredible teamwork. While using her summons as the vanguard, Yanze is responsible for full output, while Yunqing handles healing and containment. She concludes that their teamwork is amazing, and just then, Yunqing calls the team's attention to what Suming is doing. She lets them know that in a short space of time, Suming has climbed up the tower rankings and has overtaken them. Apparently, Suming is currently on the 7th floor and has surpassed them. Meanwhile, Chung has just finished clearing the 9th floor, and he realizes that the monsters have started getting stronger, but at the same time, they pose no threat to him. He remembers that from the rules, whoever clears the 10th floor first will receive an additional reward. Chung easily figures out that the god of slaughter is Suming, and even though he has no idea why he took him so long on the 1st floor, he is pretty sure that Suming cannot catch up to him again. Chung takes a deep breath with the confidence that he is going to be the one to take the reward on the 10th floor. He hasn't finished thinking about this when he gets the notification that Suming just cleared the 9th floor. The two end up getting to the 10th floor at the same time, and the 10th floor's monster is a level 15 Minotaur. On the outside, the other challengers have abandoned their challenge and decided to watch the rankings because they know there is no need for them to start rushing, since there is no way they are going to catch up to the insane people who have gone ahead. They have figured out that it is better to just watch the incredible moment unfolding right in their presence. Since Chung and Suming are both on the 10th floor, bets start flying around on who is actually going to clear it first. While taking on the Minotaur, Suming doesn't even remove his second hand from his pocket, as he easily cuts down the Minotaur while also trash-talking the poor beast. In just 30 seconds, Suming had taken out the Minotaur and he finished it off with the Sword Tomb skill. With the Centaur's defeat, Suming is congratulated on becoming the first challenger to clear the 10th floor, and he is informed that he is going to get an additional reward. Later on, Zhang wakes up in the infirmary, and the first sight he sees is the nurse's melons dangling over his head. He is about to lose his senses, but he pulls himself back with the fact that the only person he has eyes for is Xiaoman. This immediately reminds him that he still has a revenge plan against Suming. Zhang rushes to the hall, but to his surprise, everyone has left the hall. He realizes that they have all set off to climb the 100-layer tower. He grabs his head in frustration because he has been left behind by the main group, and even his quest for revenge is looking really bleak. With the way things are, Zhang knows that there is no way he is going to catch up to Suming on the tower. Zhang beats himself up because he was too impulsive and shouldn't have acted so recklessly. Zhang is convinced that Suming knew about the rules but intentionally baited him into attacking him. Zhang starts thinking of a way to punish Suming, and it dawns on him that he is actually from a prestigious family, so he doesn't even have to dirty his own hands to deal with Suming. Zhang decides to use his family's power to deal with Suming even though he had been avoiding this from the start. Zhang whips out his phone to make a quick arrangement. Zhang then heads to the seat to activate the selection process, but he notices that Suming is not on the rankings. However, he could see Cheng, who is currently second on the list. Cheng has cleared up to the 16th floor, and this shows how crazy he is. Zhang is confused when he realizes that a person named God of Slaughter is sitting at the top, but he doesn't even know who this person is. Unknown to him, this person is Suming, and at this point he has cleared up to the 19th floor. Meanwhile, Suming is having issues with the monster on the 18th floor. Suming is going up against an amethyst crypt beast, which is a level 20 monster. Suming could see that the monsters are getting even more powerful as he climbs the tower. In addition, the mechanics of the floor boss monsters are getting complex. The monster he is currently dealing with has buried its main body underground, and the crystal on its head is incredibly hard to shatter at once. While he is dealing with the crystal sitting above, the buried body releases small mobs to the surface as a means of attack, and the annoying small monsters have defenses that are as tough as the crystal. Suming knows that if he were to rely on the previous silver weapon he had, he wouldn't be able to easily break their defenses. Fortunately for him, he obtained a gold tier weapon chest as an additional reward when he cleared the 10th floor as the first person to clear it. Suming then uses his sublimation skill to upgrade the gold weapon to a platinum weapon. He ended up getting the Blackstone Rift combined sword, which he is now using. Apparently, the weapon can only be used at level 18. Apparently, the weapon was once a long sword that broke in battle, splitting into two. Later on, a craftsman used a precious dragon scale as the core of the glue and forged it back together, thus returning the sword to its peak. The sword bears a formidable killing intent, and when joined together, it serves as a long sword, but when split in two, it serves as a short sword or dagger. It is basically a dual-type weapon, and thanks to the dragon scale that was embedded in it, it provides the dagger with a 200% fire attribute damage bonus. Using the weapon in its longsword state can greatly increase the weapon's execution attribute attack bonus, but at the same time, it sacrifices some attack speed. This is why it is not convenient when dealing with a large number of enemies. Suming then decides to split the sword in two to increase the attack speed by 50%, while sacrificing the slashing attack by 30%. Even though the attack power has reduced, Suming is relying on the combined bonus from his other talent, Sword Body, to boost the attack. Basically, he is able to enjoy speed and attack side by side. Meanwhile, on the 17th floor, Chung has found himself in a standstill against the level 18th monster, which is a treant. Chung could see that he had reached his limit already. The treant's weakness is fire, but he is currently going solo, so he doesn't have the skills to deal with it. Cheng is also pissed that he hasn't been able to obtain any distinctive reward that increases his attributes. When he cleared the 10th floor, he was only given a silver chest reward because the gold reward had been given to Suming. As if his luck wasn't bad enough, when he opened it, he realized that the reward was a magic-type accessory that had nothing to do with his power. Standing in front of the treant, Cheng figures out that he can no longer push himself further if he wants to keep his life. Without delay, Cheng pulls out on the 17th floor, and at the same time, some other challengers stop at the floors where they believe they can no longer go forward. There are challengers who managed to reach the 11th floor, but ended up pulling out to avoid dying. Back on the 19th floor, Suming finally breaks the crystal, giving him access to the annoying monster that has been hiding underneath forever. He wastes no time activating the sword tomb to push out the true body of the monster. Suming takes down the defenseless monster and goes ahead to clear the 19th floor. After clearing the floor, Suming realizes that Cheng had stopped 2 floors back. This tells Suming that after the 10th floor of the layer tower, the difficulty gets more insane, and he is actually impressed that Cheng was able to reach where he got to on his first trial. Suming figures out that the 20th floor is his threshold, according to his past experience. After the 20th floor, the difficulty of the other stages would increase exponentially, and for his current attributes and level, getting to the 19th floor is already his limit. However, he wants to try out the 20th floor because he has a nostalgic skill that he would like to try out. By the time he got to the 20th floor, Suming was forced to exert twice the force and strength he had used since he started the challenge. But he couldn't even get the floor master to move. He has used sword control over and over, but the floor master easily blocks all of his attacks while remaining in the same location. Even when it appears that his strength is not enough, Suming tries to break through with speed, but this is also quite useless. The floor master is basically blocking his moves as if he has 10 hands. It turns out that the floor master is a gatekeeper knight, and he is a level 25 opponent. The knight soon uses a powerful skill against Suming, and this is when Suming realizes just how overwhelming the knight's power is. Suming tries to block it at some point, but he gets pushed back really hard. Suming's health bar drops rapidly, and he realizes that with his current abilities, he can't defend against the monster's skill attacks. On average, being hit just once by the knight takes away 1/3 of his health, and with his current health, he figures out that he only has 1 hit left. Suming realizes that even though he has experienced rebirth, he still can't fight monsters above his level in the tower. Suming is not entirely surprised because he already expected this. However, the reason he decided to try out the 20th floor, even though he has no chance of winning, is to use his new skill, which can only be used at level 20. This was a skill that was his favorite in his past life, and it is called the God of Slaughter's Strike. Suming activates the skill, manifesting a giant energy sword that stands tall above the enemy. When Cheng returns to the hall, he sees everyone roaring at how incredible Suming is because he is still challenging the tower even though it has gotten really tough. Since they don't know who the God of Slaughter is, they start wondering where he came from and how he is able to challenge the 20th floor on his first trial. Cheng is pissed that Suming actually has the strength to take on such a daring challenge. He is watching from behind when one of his classmates arrives, teasing Cheng, talking about how surprised he is that Cheng actually lost to someone because it has never happened before. Back on the 20th floor, Suming's attack actually landed, and he takes 1/3 of the knight's health bar, but he is also about to lose his life. Suming concludes that it would be better for him to give up at that point, since even the God of Slaughter's strike couldn't take down the knight. Suming brings up the status window, and he withdraws from the challenge, admitting defeat. Just then, something shocking happens. The knight tells Suming that he didn't lose, but at his current level, his attributes are completely insufficient. The knight tells Suming that he currently cannot unleash the true power of his skill, and Suming is left in shock because he doesn't understand how the knight is able to talk. As he is teleported away, the knight tells him that he will be eagerly waiting for him to challenge again in the future. Moments later, Suming returns to the resting area, and as he steps out of the portal, the other challengers receive the update that the God of Slaughter has failed the challenge. Even though he withdrew on the 19th floor, they are still impressed that he was able to make it up to that point. They start asking who the God of Slaughter is, and it dawns on them that it would be part of those who just teleported back. The challengers move around, asking those who have just arrived if they are the God of Slaughter, but none of them could deduce that it was Suming. Suming is glad that he actually got rewarded with the title change on the first floor because it has saved him from the desperate challengers who want to know who he is. Even though he has the total concealment skill, he can't use it in the tower because it only works in the dungeon. Just then, Suming realizes that Jiao and her team are still challenging the tower, and they are currently on the 14th floor. Suming is impressed by this because it shows how much they have improved so far. Since they are playing safely and steadily, he believes that they will be able to climb higher. Suming then decides to proceed to the next phase because, as a level 20, His second profession change attribute-boosting task has appeared. Chasing convenience, he decides that he is going to choose to complete a subjugation quest, which is located near the target destination of the second profession change quest. Summing checks out the list, and he is surprised that the subjugation quests that are currently available are from D to F ranks. After checking out the locations, he figures out that he can only pick one, and he decides to choose the subjugation quest D17. The quest requires that he hunt a python king in the Nanli District Wilderness Forest, and the reward for this is 10,000 Advent coins. In addition, he's going to get a random platinum skill scroll. The system then informs Suming that the Sky Tower Assembly token has been granted permission to enter and exit the 100-layer tower area at any time. With this, he now has the permission to enter the Illusionary Realm. The Illusionary area is a place that can connect to the Sky Tower Assembly area but has a different appearance from the real world. Basically, before the Day of Awakening descended, the real world was originally a place where humanity lived, but when the awakening began, various unexplainable anomalies like dungeons, demons, and monsters showed one after the other in the original real world.
Humanity began to merge and enter the world of the awakened professions, and through the sacrifices and efforts of predecessors, order was reestablished in the chaotic real world that was destroyed after the descent of the Day of Awakening. Because of this, the illusionary realm was born, and it was isolated from the real world where humans mainly live. It is allocated as a living space for demons and irregular beasts. This is why they now have the peaceful world that they currently have. The trials of the 100-layer tower are exactly the threshold that opens the illusionary realm for novice challengers to explore. There is a rumor that the peak of the 100-layer tower buries all the truths of the world's descent day, and Suming wasn't able to reach there in his past life. However, in this new life, he plans to reach the peak. Just then, the system tells him that a portal has been opened for him, and if he would like to select the destination area inside the illusionary realm. But Suming says no because he wants to take a trip to the real world. The system takes his instruction and opens a portal for him to the real world. At the same time, he gets a reward for challenging the 20th floor, which is 10,000 Advent coins. Suming smiles because the money came just right in time for the order he made 2 days earlier. It turns out that it is an order for his first advanced weapon. Upon arriving in the real world, he heads to the weapon trading center. Being there again reminds him that it was where he obtained his first silver weapon by opening stones, but the weapon is already past what he needs for his future challenge, although the weapon has effects that he really admires. Because of this, he had made an appointment 2 days earlier with a certain strange person in the weapons center. Even when Jiao and others suggested that they go to the weapons center together, he refused, saying he was going to a different location from where they were going. Suming heads to the basement to meet his new acquaintance, a female blacksmith. The lady welcomes Suming, telling him that he came late, but she is more interested in whether Suming brought the remaining balance. Suming transfers the money to her, and he is given the weapon replica level upgrade device. Even though his talent, the sublimation of all things, can only be used on an item once, the upgrade result is random. Since he wants to retain the effects of the silver sword he was using, while still being able to upgrade the weapon, he resorts to using the upgrade device. The device increases the item level and replicates or retains the original item's skill attributes. Skill-based attributes will also increase randomly as the item upgrades. By using the device, Suming is able to upgrade the sword further. Suming is glad that the whole process was successful, and it turns out that the only person who can create the upgrade weapon is the blacksmith lady, Nahura, whose hidden profession is the 8-star forger. Nahura is surprised at how Suming was able to find her because she has been hiding out in the basement warehouse, silently researching forging. She asks Suming how he found her contact information and what gave him the confidence that she would be successful in making the weapon replica level upgrade device. Nahura says the material costs needed for the device add up to over 10,000 Advent coins, and she never expected a student like him, who has just awakened, to be willing to spend such a huge price. Nahura expresses her shock that he trusted someone he didn't even know, and Suming teases her, asking her why she thinks they don't know each other. Nahura replies that her memory is not failing her yet, so she is pretty sure. Suming quickly tells her that he is only joking. However, he actually knows her from his previous life. Nahura was a formidable weapon forger, and even though she is only 8-star, her hard work and relentless passion end up helping her achieve greater future achievements. Suming collaborated with her many times, and she helped him forge his own unique weapons on multiple occasions. However, he paid huge prices to obtain her expertise in his previous life. Since she is currently impoverished at the moment, Suming believes that it is the best time to work with her because little money would look big to her. Suming then decides to play his card, and he tells Nahura that he is aware of her financial trouble for the next weapon that she wants to develop. Nahura is shocked to hear this, but before she can start asking questions, Suming tells her that he is willing to invest 10,000 Advent coins first. He mentions that the more he finishes his quest and receives the rewards later, the more he will continue to increase his sponsorship for her.
Nahura is blown away when she hears this, forcing her to ask Suming if he is telling the truth. Suming assures her that he is not lying, and Nahura immediately concludes that Suming is an angel sent from heaven. However, Suming tells her that he has a condition. He tells her that in the future, when he needs her help to forge weapons, she must give him a 70% discount on the forging price. Without thinking too much about it, Nahura immediately agrees to the deal. Later on, Suming visits the illusionary area to continue his quest. He is blown away when he steps into the realm because even the trees are insanely big. Just then, the scent of blood crosses his nose, and he checks out the map to know where the subjugation location is. He realizes that it is in the south, but thanks to the big trees, he can't fully understand the terrain. The trees are also too tall to climb on as he did in the Novice dungeon, but he has a method that he would like to try. Even though he is not a true sword controller in his profession, he still has the sword control skill. He figures out that everything would be better if he could learn to fly on a sword like the real sword controllers. Suming whips out his sword and decides to give it a try. He steps on the sword and activates the sword control, but he falls off the sword and hits his head. Suming is not entirely surprised that the skill didn't work. But something surprising happens when he grabs the sword. The sword starts flying, dragging him along, and this is when it dawns on him that he might not be able to stand on it to fly, but he can use it to fly by grabbing the weapon and using the sword control to designate a target while continuously activating the skill. Suming cuts through the dense vegetation using this improvisation, and he is blown away by how nice the view from above looks. While heading to his target, 3 Awakened also arrive at the D17 subjugation quest area. Surprisingly, they are there for Suming, who just accepted the quest all by himself. One of the trio believes that Suming is quite brave to have taken on the quest alone, but her colleague thinks Suming is just a noob who knows nothing. He suggests that they relax and allow the dude to die at the hands of whatever monster he runs into. However, the team leader, who is level 27 Awakened, suggests that they move quickly to kill him so that they don't lose the bounty on him. Moments earlier, Zhang had given up on the tower challenge when he got to the 13th floor. He is pissed at himself for falling behind from the start, which prevented him from forming a team, thus resulting in a disappointing first tower climb for him. When he arrived at the resting area, he realized that most people had left too. This basically means he has fallen behind in the challenge progress as well. He checks out the leaderboard and he is surprised that Suming is not on the list. He wonders if Suming quit the challenge, which is why his name is not on the list. Zhang is frustrated by this because even if he finds someone who can assassinate him, he doesn't know where Suming is. Zhang is thinking about what to do when he hears Jiyao and her team returning from the tower climb. Zhang quickly hides to hear what they have to say. It turns out that the team was able to get to the 15th floor, and this is thanks to their incredible teamwork. Yunqing says it is actually pretty nice that they were able to get this insane score without Suming's help. The trio then suggests that they go ahead to the next quest because they have wasted time already. Jiyao tells her friends that she contacted Suming, and he revealed that he had already taken a subjugation quest, so he's gone already. Yunqing is surprised that Suming is planning to complete a subjugation quest all by himself. While they are busy discussing the details of the mission, they have no idea that Zhang is hearing everything. Zhang is able to find a clue from everything they have said, and he immediately contacts the assassins, telling them to find Suming to kill him. Suming finally arrives at the South District, which is the target for the subjugation quest. He realizes that the district has been left dilapidated. There are also corpses of villagers lying around, and he figures out that it is a beastmen's village. Judging from the corrosive liquid on the bodies, he figures out that it is thanks to the snake venom. This only proves that his target is close, but he soon realizes that there is another scent aside from blood. He tracks down the scent, and to his disappointment, it turns out to be the snake's big poop. This tells him just how big the python is, and suddenly, he senses that something is behind the tree. Suming hurls his sword toward the tree while demanding that whatever is hiding there step out. Suming is stunned when he sees a cat girl screaming at him in fear, telling him not to come close. She threatens to cut Suming with her sharp claws, but what Suming sees is a helpless girl who poses no threat to him. Suming turns around to leave while calling the girl a pet, but she yells at Suming, telling him that she is not a freaking pet. She is a level 3 catfolk, and she asks Suming if he is also there to attack the village. Using his Eye of Insight, Suming realizes that the girl has the assassin profession and her name is Laya. Just then, Suming throws a bottle to Laya, and when she asks what it is, he reveals that it is a healing potion. He suggests that she take it because she is injured. Suming assures her that she has nothing to worry about because he is not there to attack her village. Suming points out the fact that the village is already gone, so there is nothing else for him to attack. Suming then reveals that his target is actually the python that attacked her village. Laya is worried when she hears this, telling Suming that the python is very dangerous, so it is not advisable for him to go alone. Suming tells Laya that she has nothing to worry about because he actually came because of the snake. Just then, Laya tells Suming that she can find the python's nest, but she wants Suming to take her along. With tears in her eyes, she tells Suming that the deadly python ate all of her family members. Later on, the two are seen traversing the thick, dark forest, and at this point, Suming believes that Laya doesn't know what she is doing. However, Leah lets him know that the python they are looking for is right ahead. Suming stands there clueless, saying he can't see anything, but Laya suggests that he look up. Suming then does as told, and to his shock, the python is curled up at the top of the tree. Suming staggers back in shock because of how scary and large the python is. Suming realizes that it is more massive than he expected, and this is when it dawns on him that a D-rank quest isn't supposed to be underestimated. Suming concludes that he has to reconsider his original plan to kill the python. Suddenly, they are attacked by the assassins. Laya is able to warn Suming just in time for them to get out of the way. They avoid the arrows that would have ended them, and the assassins finally decide to show themselves. The squad leader commends Suming, telling him that he is quite capable. He didn't expect that a mere level 20 student would be able to dodge their ambush, but he let him know that he won't be lucky enough to dodge it the next time. The dude confidently tells Suming that he is going to die that very day. Without holding back, the trio unleashes their attack on Suming in an attempt to one-shot him. Suming manages to dodge the arrow attack, but the mage tells Suming that he doesn't have what it takes to dodge her magic. She unleashes her fire magic on him, forcing him to leap backwards, but he gets slightly hit. Suming is still trying to gather his strength when the team leader appears right in front of him. The dude slams really hard into a tree, leaving a cloud of dust. The assassin leader walks toward him, mocking him for being so weak. He talks about how it is actually stupid to have hired a bunch of them to handle someone as weak as Suming. The trio gangs up on Suming's location, talking down on him, saying he is just easy money. With his health bar running down, Suming decides to ask them if they can tell him who sent them to kill him, since he is about to die anyway. The leader decides to tell him, since he is on the verge of death. As he raises his big sword, ready to cut him down, he reveals that Zhang was the one who sent them to kill him. The dude slashes Suming's chest, cutting him in half. Leah watches in horror when she sees this, but there is nothing she can do. Suddenly, they hear Suming's voice cutting through the forest, saying he actually guessed right about who wanted him dead. Suddenly, they see Suming standing on a tree branch, and he looks hale and healthy. While he is standing there, he is already using his Eye of Insight to figure out their level and skills. The assassin leader is confused, and he believes that Suming is a twin, but Suming lets him know that what they killed is a set clone. It immediately dawns on the squad that Suming has played them. From his analysis, Suming realizes that the archer is level 23 and the female mage is level 25. Basically, in the regular survival of the fittest world, hunting each other down is a common occurrence. But in order to protect the basic survival balance of the awakened, laws and regulations were put in place. The level difference in conflicts is not allowed to go beyond 10 levels. If the rule is broken, the violator is declared wanted globally. Since their levels couldn't exceed level 30, Suming figures out that the team leader, the level 27 armored swordsman, has the highest level among them. With this, he decides to start with the assassin with the lowest level. Suming leaps off the tree and goes straight for the archer. He places his sword on his neck, telling him not to make a single move. He reminds the dude that fatal spots are not measured by the health bar, so any sudden move means he is dead. The mage screams at Suming, calling him a despicable person, but Suming reminds them that they were the ones who conducted a sneak attack on him. So they are actually the despicable ones. The swordsman then decides to play the bluff game, telling Suming that he just awakened, so there is no way he would have killed someone before. The dude says taking a life for the first time is not something pleasant, but Suming shocks him as he cuts the archer's neck to let them know that he is not messing around. Suming replies to the dude's claim with a smile on his face, telling him that he takes pleasure in killing, so it means nothing to him.